G'day friends, welcome to Aussie Moto and Outdoors. The rain continues, however I'm still having a wonderful time. As you know, I recently ticked over 10,000 Ks on the R3 and I feel I'm in a much better position, particularly after the recent review, to give you my top 10 things I love about this motorcycle. So in no real order of preference, let's start here with fuel economy. Look at that, 2.9 litres per 100 kilometres, which converts in the American system to about, I think it's 97.5 miles per gallon. Absolutely incredible. And with that fuel economy, you've got to remember, she's not a slouch. Let's give her another go. It's been a while, the 0 to 60. Alright, I stuffed the start again. I really need to drop that clutch a little better. But have a look at that, 5 seconds, 27 to 100. That's really not bad considering it's a 321cc bike. So the 0 to 60 was favourite thing number 2. Now we're up to favourite thing number 3. Now as you see on that sign, this is a very steep incline. It's a set of twisties, this is the Hurbiton range, and you'd think, well, I'm going to need some decent power or some decent torque to be able to pull up this range. Now the speed limit's 80, and I'm trying to keep under the speed limit. I don't know if you're aware of what my previous occupation was. You can see it in one of the previous videos. I don't like to break the law. I don't like to ride too fast. A, because I love my life, and B, because I don't want to end up getting my bike taken off me or getting speeding tickets that I don't want to pay for. So thing number 3 is, although it has modest horsepower and modest torque, you can see this bike still pulls along nicely. You can see what gear I'm in there. You can see how fast I'm going. You can hear by the revs when I open it up to get a bit of movement going, she picks up quite quickly. Now if you're used to driving a 650 or a litre bike, you're probably going to find this to be very sluggish and very dull. However, if like myself, you're a relatively new rider, you're returning to the sport, or you're just getting something to commute on, you're not going to find this bike to be a slug. You're going to enjoy it. Favourite thing number, what are we up to? Number 4? Let's go with 4, that'll do. Is the comfort. This bike is genuinely comfy. Now, it's not that small. I know it's only a 321cc like we said, and it's a lamb's bike as they call them in Australia or whatever your restrictions are in Europe or wherever else. Yes, it is a smaller bike, but it doesn't feel small. It doesn't look small. Yes, the back tyre is skinnier than an R1, but hey, your average non-rider has no idea the size difference between these bikes. They see you ride past, they see a sport bike. It was an empty road, so I thought let's give that 0 to 60 another go. Yeah, I got worse. 6 seconds 10. No good. So where were we? That's right, talking about comfort. Now I have done 10,000 Ks on this bike already in the last 6 months, so I know how comfortable it is or it isn't, and I'm telling you, it's comfy. The seat is heaps comfy, the suspension is fine, the bike doesn't feel small, it feels good, it feels great, I genuinely love it. Now I think I might have shown this picture in one of my previous videos, but this is the day I picked up my bike. This is my R3 that I'm sitting on, next to an R7. Now as you can see, to look at them, there really isn't that much difference in size. I think the R7 is actually a slightly slimmer bike. The clip-ons are much lower on the R7. It's a really nice bike by all accounts, but it is a little less comfortable than the R3. So if we're talking about comfort of this bike, the R3 ticks that box. Favourite thing number 5 would have to be the stability. Now this bike is designed and built with the beginner in mind, so it takes a lot of things into consideration that you may take for granted or you might not even notice. Of note is how this bike handles at slow speed, so when you're doing U-turns or really tight turns, or you're in the car park and you know that really slow speed stuff, which everybody tells you can be really difficult to do, particularly on larger sport bikes. Something like this, the Yamaha R3, is just absolutely brilliant. It instills a level of confidence that you may not otherwise have had. The bike really is thankfully quite forgiving to a new rider. And the more confident you are, the more you're going to ride. The more you ride, the more confident you get. However, I'm always mindful not to be overconfident. Oh, how's this? Favourite thing number 6, although I don't think this is specific to the R3. It's good to get out riding and see a good boy in the back of the ute. Where's a good boy? Alright, see ya, doggo. Let's continue on to Ravenso and think of another 4 or 5 or whatever up to wonderful favourite things about this motorcycle. Right, so speaking of being mindful of overconfidence, this is a really fun road to ride on. It's nice little sweeping twisties, it's nice and cool, you've got the rainforest canopy overhead, both sides. However, when it's wet, it just feels scary, so I'd slowed right down and I was feeling a bit soft for doing so. But have a look at that. What's this then? Somebody's come off. It just gives you an idea of how quick bad things can happen and how this road can be quite treacherous when it's wet. So yes, I did ride incredibly slow along this otherwise fun set of twisties. And anybody from North Queensland watching this and just laughing, going, have your dig, I don't care, I rode slow, I don't want to come off. Favourite thing number 7 or 8, actually before we do that, don't you hate it when you're following a truck and he's going slow and there's nowhere to pass? There's 2 ways to get to Ravenshoe. You can go off to the right there or you can go straight, and whichever way the truck was going, I was going the other way. Favourite thing number, whatever number we're up to, is the headlights. A lot of motorcycles, particularly the sport bikes that have got dual headlights, they only have one headlight on when you're on low beam, and you flick to your brights or your high beams as we call them, and then you get both headlights on. With the R3, you've got both headlights on at all times. I reckon it looks much better. I'll try and find a photo or get a video clip, I don't know if I have one. Favourite thing number, let's call it number 9, and this is something you notice up here in Ravenshoe because it's such a high altitude town. There's always plenty of wind, as you can see the windmills there. It is called Windy Hill. So the windscreen on this actually works. It stops you from getting a buffeting, and it also helps when it's raining. As you can see a bit later, I rode into some rain and I really didn't get wet. It has to be a decent downpour to get wet, so the windscreen and the fairings on this bike aren't just for show, they actually do their job. Favourite thing number, whatever number we're up to, how nice is that little creek? Favourite thing number thing is the off-roading capabilities of the Yamaha YZF R3. Now I hear you say, what? But yes, I will continue to take this bike off-road when I have to. If I need to get somewhere, I get there. I don't care if it's a crap road, I just go. Now I'm not going to do hundreds and hundreds of kilometres off-road, but if I just need to get up a crappy driveway, I will more than happily do so. Now before you suggest I'm trashing my motorcycle, look, I only go down these roads when I have to, like when I'm visiting somebody who lives down them, or if I'm exploring and I want to see something. I'm not some hardcore off-roader. I'll get an adventure bike eventually for that kind of thing. Now one thing I do like to do when I'm out exploring is stop in at cemeteries. I know that seems a bit weird, but I thoroughly enjoy history and I enjoy paying respects to people of yesteryear. And as you can see, it's often a great opportunity to get some shots of the bike. The car parks are usually empty, there's no one around. You can park up, get a few good shots. But I do thoroughly enjoy looking at much older graves, having a look at the dates, trying to imagine back in time. I find it interesting, maybe that's morbid curiosity. All too soon, it's time to get back on the bike. Just seemed like a picture perfect, beautiful day. You wouldn't believe I ran into some rain shortly. I'd have to say favourite thing number 10 is how this bike looks. I just reckon it looks incredible. Again, I know I mentioned that earlier with how the headlights look and how looks are very much subjective, but this bike looks bloody beautiful for what it is. Coming out of Ravenshoe, homeward bound, coming past Windy Hill again, and you can see some raindrops starting to fall on the GoPro there. Yes, we're riding into some rain. Have a look at that, absolutely shocking bits of road there. So many potholes, bad repairs. So the rain's coming sideways. The Windy Hill's living up to its name. I think the wind gusts were predicted up around 35 to 40 kilometres an hour. It was pretty cold, and you don't get much heat off this motor to warm you up either. I have read on some Facebook groups that some people feel a fair bit of heat coming off their engines, off the R3, but I've never noticed that at all, and I've done, some 300 and 400 kilometre trips. So here we are outside Herberton. I thought I'd give it one more go at the 0 to 60. I think I got a slightly better start this time. Didn't rev it out too far, but still 5 seconds 27. I think that's exactly the same as what the earlier time was. So maybe that's around about what she'll do. Remember, my bike is completely stock standard. I have done no mods to it whatsoever. I do service it regularly. It's got the Yamaha semi-synthetic oil in it. Every 5,000 Ks I change the filter and the oil. So it's well looked after, but it's just not modded at all. They tell me there's quite a few things you can do to this bike to make it considerably faster, but just, you know, I look at it like this. It's an R3, it's never going to be extremely fast, and that doesn't bother me. So I'm just happy to ride it like it is. That way when I sell it or give it away to somebody, it's going to be unmolested. It's going to be like it's straight out of the box, albeit with whatever it's going to have by then, 10 or 20,000 Ks on the clock. Favourite thingy number 11, I know this said top 10, but I'm just telling you all my favourite things, would have to be the servicing cost. An oil filter costs less than 20 bucks and the oil costs about 60, so it's pretty cheap if you do your own services to keep this thing running nicely. Okay, something new as mentioned at the start of this video. A good mate of ours, Nathan, has just bought himself a brand new bike. This is a Kawasaki Z900. He picked it up a few weeks ago. He's put a few Ks on it so far, but we're going to give him a few weeks of riding it and enjoying it before we have him put it through the rigours of a full review. Just have a look at this thing. Now, usually I like sport bikes more than naked bikes, but have a look. This thing just looks incredible, doesn't it? Full review coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Put your phones down, get outside, consider liking and subscribing.